Alhamdulillah wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So today we're going to start up where we left off, and we left off talking about a sulh, which is making sure everyone gets their rights, and if there is a settlement, how that would go. And today we're going to go into al-hawala, or hiwala, which is another way of saying it. But this is al-hawala is basically someone that has a debt that exchanges that pays his debt with somebody else that has a debt to him. All right. So it's kind of an exchanging of debts to make sure that one person has his debt paid, even if that one person doesn't pay the debt for himself. Someone else owes him money. So that person, instead of owing him the money and paying it to him, he pays it to someone else. All right. That's a hawala, and so it's just like changing from one person's debt to another. This is something that actually happens a lot with banks. Like they'll all owe each other stuff, and they will relieve the things that they owe from each other with someone that owes them something. So they'll kind of do this kind of relieving of debt from one person to another. They all owe a bunch of people other things. So this person will relieve this person's debt for him to pay him. So it's kind of like switching who's the payer for a certain debt. It can be complicated, but we'll just keep it simple and move on with the lesson, inshallah. So the author here, the first thing when we're talking about hawala, of course, the linguistic meaning of this is tahawul wal intiqal, like for something to change from one thing to another, hiwala, all right, or hawala, which is the better way of saying it. And so then when it comes to like its definition, sharan is aqd yaqtadi an naql dayn min dhimmatin ila dhimmatin ukhra. So this is an aqd, which is like a transaction or something that's binding, that the yaqtadi, it's like necessitates changing the dayn from one person to the dhimma, or like the credit of someone else. All right. So changing that dayn that's upon one person to the credit of somebody else that takes us. The author, Abi Shujaa here, he says faslun, which is in the types of buyu', which is related to the transactions. He says, وَشَرَائِطُ الْحَوَالَةِ أَرْبَعَةٌ. And he gives 4 conditions. He's going to give 4 conditions for this. And for the 4 conditions, he's going to use some terms. One of them is muhil, and the other one is muhtal. All right? And there's also al-muhalu alayhi wa-dayn lil-muhtali ala al-muhil wa-dayn lil-muhil ala al-muhali alayhi wa-siga. These are the arkan for it. And so these can be a little confusing. So when we come to each one of these words, I'm going to tell you who it is and write down what it means. All right. So the first thing it says rida al-muhil. Al-muhil, this is the person who took the dayn, and he's having someone else pay that. He's the one who's moving his dayn and having someone else pay his dayn for him. All right. So this is the person, say that he took a dayn from somebody, and someone is going to buy something from him. Instead of paying him that money, he says, pay fulan, pay this for me, on behalf of me. So him doing this, he's the muhil, and now this person, the muhtal, is the person that he pays. That person that he pays is the muhtal. All right, that he's paying him on behalf of him. And so he says here, for the conditions, rida al-muhil. So if someone is going to do this transaction, of course the person who it's his dayn in the first place, like his loan that is upon him, he needs to be happy with someone with this transaction being paid for him. All right. So if he's not wanting this person to go out and pay someone else, he wants his money. Then it's not permissible unless he is happy with this person paying the other person that he's indebted to. Maybe he has a reason that he needs that money now and he doesn't want to pay that debt right now. All right. So the second condition, the first one is rida al-muhil, which is this person has to be happy with that transaction. He says وَقَبُولَ الْمُحْتَالِ. And this is the person who receives the payment from the other person. He has to accept. He has to accept that this other person is going to pay, and he should. And this is something he should accept that. And then the other one that he says here, the third condition, is كَوْنُ الْحَقِّ مُسْتَقِرًا فِي الذِّمَّةِ. And that this haqq, which is like the dayn, or whether this person, maybe he bought something and the person hasn't paid him the price yet, but he's going to pay the other person the price for that. This is the haqq. That this haqq is mustaqirun fi dhimma. That this means that it is thabit. Like this is something that is that he has to pay. So if it's something that's going to be paid in the future, no. It's something that needs to be established that this person actually owes them for him to exchange something. So he can't exchange in a debt that is going to happen, or a purchase that's going to happen.
Like prepaid?
Yeah, he has to actually, that actual debt that he's going to exchange with someone else, both of them have to be established. Like they already have to be thabit for him to do this.
Do you mean for him to do this as in?
Like to change one debt to pay off another debt. So if you say, if I wanted to, so I'm going to buy a computer. I'm going to buy a computer from Andrew, okay? I'm going to buy the computer from you, and then, so I'm going to buy the computer for you for $500. All right. So instead of me giving you $500, I say this guy owes me $500. He's going to give it to you. All right. And so the fact that he already owes me $500, this is why I can do this. And if you accept and he accepts, then okay. But if he doesn't owe me $500 yet, he doesn't owe me that, then this doesn't work. And the same thing, if I didn't actually do the transaction with you yet, then this wouldn't work. It has to be that, and that money has to be already owed to the individuals, like in a way that is like thabit, or like that it's not going to move or change. And like that is someone, if they're in the khiyar for a couple days, this is close to it, so they can almost get away with that. And so the two conditions, the first one, the person who is getting his debt changed to someone else, the mukhil, who's changing his debt and having someone else pay on behalf of him, he needs to be happy. The second one, qabul al-muhtal, the person who's going to receive the payment for that from someone other than the person he did, that he gave the debt to, or bought like the person who is owed money. He has to accept taking it from someone else. That's the other condition. And the third condition is that haqq, or this thing that is owed, is actually owed. It's not something that's going to be owed, or not something that maybe is going to be owed depending on a condition. No, it has to be actually owed to this person in reality. And then the fourth one is واتفاق ما في ذمة المحيل والمحال عليه في الجنس والنوع والحلول والتأجيل. And so here's the last of these conditions, which we have a couple of the terms that come up here. اتفاق, in which there needs to be, and like these things need to be the same. The thing that is being changed, like, so if I said, I'm going to sell you something for $500, all right? I'm going to sell you, a camera, $500 Canon camera. So instead of you paying me, I tell you, pay this guy $500 for me. And I also took a loan from him, $500. So in this case, it works because it's still dollars and whatnot. But what if it's a different currency? No, it doesn't work. It needs to be the same currency. So this loan needs to be the same currency. Also, it needs to be the same type. So when he says nor here, he means because back in the day when they had gold coins, they would have gold coins that were new, and then they would have gold coins that they called mukassara. And mukassara means that they're old, so that they're missing a little bit of gold on them. Since they've been used so long, little bits of gold has chipped off of it. So these are less in worth than the new coins. So this would have to be the same type. You can't have him paying in old coins when you paid with new coins, or you paying with new coins when you paid with old coins, because there's going to be a difference. Because this is just the way that the gold and the other coins, they would always make sure they'd say either mukassara or like sahih. These are like the two terms for them. So that's what he means by nor. And also if you were doing it with like other type of, like if you were doing it with grain or something, it'd be the same thing. Like you'd have jins, and then nor is like the actual type. Well, hulul, and it also needs to be the same time that this thing is, that this thing is. So it would need, and it also, like you would pay it at the same time this other thing needs to be paid. What ta'jil? So if it was later, like you agreed on a certain time that this debt was going to be paid. So me and you, we agreed that I'm not going to pay the 500 right now. I'm going to pay it in 2 months. And also, he took a date from me, and he also agreed that he's going to pay me back in that 500 in 2 months. So this is the same time. So at that time, he can give it to you instead. So I say, instead of giving it to me, give it to him, all right? And if you agree, and I agree, and everyone's happy, then from this point, he says here, وَتَبْرَأُ بِهَا ذِمَّةُ الْمُحِيلِ. Then my dhimma, or like my credit, is clear. It's between you guys now. Because this is a way to make sure that everyone gets their goods, like everything that's coming towards them, and it makes things easier for us. Instead of me having to get money, and then I have to get my money from you and then give it to him, this is extra work. But if I just said you all agree, you take my money from him, okay? And this works. And this is a easy way for people to work with the money, but everything needs to be the exact same. So if they're changing the debts and whatnot, it needs to be the exact same type and everything, because riba can come into this. So everything needs to happen at that time. Because if it's money and whatnot, riba is going to come into it, so it needs to be dealt with properly. So these are the 4 conditions that he gives here for al-hibada, and I hope the general concept is understood. Of course, in bigger books, you'll go into more details, inshallah. Any questions before we move on?
Today's day and age, like you wouldn't be able to pay with a different currency.
With a different currency? No, it has to be the same currency. You'd have to do the hibada with the same currency, yeah. So if it was euros and dollars, no. It doesn't work.
So this concept right here, al-hawala, is about transferring your debt to another person.
Yeah.
Is that what it's like?
Yeah, pretty much transferring the debt. Or if you're owed a debt, someone else paying it on behalf of the person that owes you.
Okay.
Yeah, and you agreeing to that. You're agreeing to take that money from them.
Okay.
Yeah. This happens mostly in, like now, a lot of times it will happen with bank transactions. A lot of like the bank transactions back and forth, how they deal with their money, a lot of it is this. Because how they deal with other banks, and this person's using a card, and this person owes me this and this. It's very complicated, but a lot of it falls into this. Yeah. Any other questions before we move on to the next chapter? What? Hulul is the time that it's going to be paid. And also it needs to be the same amount. He doesn't mention this here, but it also needs to be the same amount. But once this is completed though, this action, once this goes through, then there's no going back. So if I did this hawala between me and you, that I bought the thing for 500 and he's going to pay you for 500. Once we agree on this, I'm out of the picture. Khalas. Anything happens to him, between you and him, you talk to him. Like, I've got nothing to do with it. So this is that's the benefit of this, that this person is no longer held accountable. He made the transaction, they agreed, and then this is then the debt has moved from me to him, and he's going to pay you back. All right. So the next chapter we're going to go into is called Daman. And so Daman, in Arabic, like the linguistic meaning would be al-iltizam, which is like someone holding to something. And a lot of times it gets translated as warranty or guarantee. And like when they translate it into English, there's bits of difference between it. And we'll talk about 2 different types of Daman. One of them would be more like what we would call a cosigner. Like when we look at someone's going to co-sign for a debt. And this is one type of the daman that we're going to talk about. And in Sharan, this is يقال للالتزام حق ثابت في ذمة الغير. And so this is one of the types this is something that you would say for holding, making sure that something that is established for someone else, that this haq goes to this person with someone else, في ذمة الغير, in somebody else's credit. So somebody else's credit is going on the line for this thing. All right. And then the other type of it, أو إحضار عين مضمونة أو بدن ما يستحق حضوره. Or bringing something that is guaranteed, bringing that thing that is guaranteed, making sure that thing is present, or someone bringing somebody present. This is almost like you got someone who is on bail, and someone is going to make sure that this guy gets to the court date. This guy is like he's going to make sure that this guy gets to face his court date. So he's the person who's guaranteed. He says, I will make sure that this guy goes out, will get to the court date at the time that it is, or to pay a debt. Maybe there's a debt that comes at a certain time, so we need someone to make sure that this guy is going to get to my debt. And this person says, I'm going to make sure, it's upon me to make sure that this guy gets here at that time. So I bring him, And so he's going to talk about this with a couple conditions. And just to talk about the arkan, which are the different parts of it. The first one is the damin. This is the guarantor. Like this is the person who would be, if we're doing a loan, this would be like the cosigner. He's the damin. And also the second of the arkan is the madmunun lah. And this is the thing that is this is like the dain that is being guaranteed. So this thing that's being guaranteed, or that's having this demand for, the thing that is being guaranteed, this is the madmunun lah. Madmunun anhu madmumun anhu. So this one is the person who is like the one that's getting the cosigner for. So he's the one that's getting the dain, and he's being cosigned alongside of him. So this is the madmunun anhu. And then there's madmunun bihi. And so this is the thing that is being let me see here. The madmunun bihi, this is like the actual act that this person would be going through or like be paying for. And so here the author, he's going to go through and he's going to talk about some of the conditions for this and some of the ahkam that are related to it. So Abu Shujaa rahimahullah, he says, فصل ويصح الضمان الديون المستقرة في الذمة إذا علم قدرها. So he says here first that this is permissible to do the daman for duyun, for any loans that are mustaqirratin fi dhimma. So this needs to be actually done deal. It can't be something before a loan that's going to happen. It needs to be a done deal. In this loan, if it is if this is like thabit, or like that this is mustaqirra, which is a done deal in this person's credit, that it's actually obligatory for them to pay this, either with the condition of إذا علم قدرها. So this person that is going to sign for it, he needs to know how much he's signing for. So this person, he's going to buy a car, and we know, okay, this car is going to be $7,000, and so he needs a co-signer to sign with them, because the person doesn't want to just give him a loan for $7,000 to do this right away. He's not going to just pay him like that without somebody else that's going to make sure he's paying it. So he gets this other person that goes there, but this person doesn't know it's $7,000. Doesn't work. He needs to know exactly how much this thing is that he's co-signing for, because maybe this thing is very expensive. Maybe he's co-signing for a house and he doesn't know whether it's $2 billion or if it's 50,000. So of course someone needs to know how much they're co-signing for, and without that, it's not going to be sahih. And he says, and then the next thing he's talking about is وَلِصَاحِبِ الْحَقِّ مُطَالَبَةُ مَنْ شَاءَ مِنَ الضَّامِنِ وَالْمَضْمُونِ عَنْهُ. So for the sahib al-haq, which is like the person who gave the loan, or the person who sold something on like payment installments, maybe he did it on installments, or that the person's going to pay it later. For this person, he can لِصَاحِبِ الْحَقِّ مُطَالَبَةُ مَنْ شَاءَ مِنَ الضَّامِنِ. So he can ask either the damin, like the cosigner, for the money, or he can ask the madmun anhu, which is the person that is the original person, like that's asking for this thing. He can ask either the damin or this person for the money. When the time comes for him to get his money, he can go to anyone he wants. He wants to go to this guy? Okay. He wants to go to this guy? Okay. And so he can get the money for either one of them, and that's his right to ask either one of them. He doesn't have to only go to the original person. He can go to the cosigner as well. I'm using the cosigner. It's a loose translation, So this would be like the damin. And then he also says here, إذا كان الضمان على ما بيناه. And this is, of course, if the daman is done in the way that was described at the beginning, like if it was done properly. This, he can go to either one of them if he wants. And of course, he'll talk about the next part here. وَإِذَا غَرِمَ الضَّامِنُ رَجَعَ عَلَى الْمَضْمُونِ عَنْهُ إِذَا كَانَ الضَّمَانُ وَالْقَضَاءُ بِإِذْنِهِ. So he says, إِذَا غَرِمَ الضَّامِنُ. So if the damin, this is like the cosigner, let's say the cosigner, if he pays, so if he's gharima, means that he was asked to pay, and so he paid for this person. All right. So if he paid, raja ala al-madmuni anhu, it goes back to the original person. He's got to pay him back. He has to pay him back. All right. And then he says, إذا, with the condition, إذا كان الضمان والقضاء بإذنه, if he gave the permission for the demand to happen in the first place. So if he gave the permission for there to be a co-signing and whatnot for this person to get into the co-sign, and also gave permission for him to pay back for him, then in this case, if this other person pays, the co-signer pays, he's obliged to pay him back that money. But like if you look at the mafhum mukhalif, then you would say that what if the person didn't give him permission to do the demand for him? What if he didn't give permission? This guy just all of a sudden came up out of nowhere and said, I'm going to do it. And he didn't say, I'm okay with it. He didn't give him his permission. In that case, then of some of the views, that if he didn't give him the permission, then he has nothing. This person was doing something out of the good of their own selves. He didn't give them the permission to pay for him. So if they paid, this is upon them. There's nothing between him. I didn't ask you to do this. This is something you did of your own. Thank you. Shukran. So then there's nothing, he doesn't have to pay him back because this was not a part of something he asked for in the get-go. And then what if he gave him permission to do the demand, but he didn't give him permission to pay on behalf of him? In this case, the strong position is he has to pay him back, because just the fact that he gave him permission to do the demand in the first place is also knowing that inside of that he's going to have to pay. He's going to have to pay back this person if he pays on his behalf without him asking permission. Saying, I'm going to pay on you, okay? He says, okay, all right. Then he goes and pays on him. But if he didn't ask that, and he did it anyways, he would have to pay if he gave him the permission in the first place to have the demand. And of course, this is something people should be mindful with this. And sometimes people could take this too far. If they took like the first meaning that I was talking about, this person didn't give them the permission to pay on their behalf, and they say, oh, thank you did it for me, and I'm not going to pay you back. Like this is better for them to make sure that they always pay the person back. And then the last thing that he says, he says, وَلَا يَصِحُّ الضَّمَانُ الْمَجْهُولِ. And so he says, it's not okay to do daman of something that is unknown. So if you don't know what this thing is that you're giving daman for, you can't do it. You have to know what it is. And وَمَا لَمْ يَجِبْ إِلَّا وَلَا مَا لَمْ يَجِبْ إِلَّا دَرْكَ الْمَبِيعِ. And also you can't do a demand for something that hasn't become established, like that is owed. Except, he gives one thing, and دَرْكَ الْمَبِيعِ. So, back in the day, and this still happens now, say someone is trading in certain, say he's trading cameras and phones. He's trading cameras and phones, and this person that's buying from him, he says, if this phone is stolen, I want my money back. And he doesn't know if it's stolen or not. And so if it is stolen, then maybe the person he didn't buy it from, he didn't get it from someone who stole it, and the buyer didn't sell it, or didn't steal it. But maybe someone way down the line stole it, and this is actually someone's phone. So they would do this thing because of the need for it. He would say, if something happens on this, then I've got you for the price. I've got you. So if this thing does happen to be someone else's property, then I will pay the price for it. All right. So this is a type of demand that normally we would not be able to do demand for something that isn't established. We don't know that this is not going to be that way. But if it does come out to be stolen, then in this case, there would be a reason for someone to want to have this warranty on their product. If they're buying something from someone, to know, if it is stolen, you're going to pay me back the money, all right? And so this is that only thing. Of course, we don't know if this is stolen or not. Maybe it is, and maybe it's not. We'd assume it's not. So it's not thabit. And the normal rule is that you can't have daman on something unless it's thabit, unless it's something that is established firmly that this person owes this thing. So this is the only thing that is allowed because of the necessity. Of course, there's a great necessity to make sure if someone's buying something, they want to make sure that this maybe they bought a horse or something, make sure it's not stolen. So if it did turn out to be stolen, they get their money back, which is part of that thing. So this is the chapter that has to do with daman, and there's another sub-chapter that comes after it. But any questions on this?
On the topic of having to, if my item was stolen off of somebody I bought, let's say I bought, like you said, let's say I bought a phone off of you, and I wanted a warranty saying if I lose my phone, then I would make you pay for it. Is that what this concept is?
No.
Okay.
This is if the phone was stolen, or if the phone belonged to somebody else. And so if the person that is selling the phone, right, if he says he gives a demand on this phone, if it's stolen, then I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to pay for the price of that phone. If it ends up being stolen and it's for somebody else, that other person is going to take their phone back.
I'm not understanding the scenario.
So let's say this is not the same as a warranty per se. When we have a warranty, and our warranty would work as if this thing breaks, right, this person's going to pay for it and whatnot. This is not quite that. Okay. Even though the name in Arabic usually translates to warranty, but this is in the case of if this item ends up, if there is a stolen item, we'll talk about it in the next couple of chapters. If something is stolen, all the items go back to the original owners. Anyone who bought it afterwards, they're out of it. There's nothing for them. This was not their item in the first place. Everyone gives back the money, and the item goes back to its original owner. But say he doesn't have the money and whatnot, and so this person finds out this phone was stolen, they take it away from him. He just bought this from this guy. But if this guy gave him a demand that this phone, if it ends up being stolen, you get your money back.
Oh, okay. So if I sell you an item and I'm possibly this item I'm selling you was stolen in the past. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Then I can provide some kind of insurance. To say, okay,
Yeah,
I'll
that's
pay you.
insurance, yeah.
Okay.
So the next thing that the author is going to talk about is kafara, which is, it's just like it. It's kind of like a subcategory. And this is kind of like making sure someone shows up for the date. So if they have a date that they need to show up for, to whether it's they need to pay their debt, or maybe this guy cut off somebody's hand and he needs to show up for qisas, or maybe this person killed someone, he needs to show up for the date for qisas. So if somebody, if this person wants to go out and whatnot, there's somebody else that says, you know what, we'll let him do his business, but I will make sure he shows up for the date. Then this person needs to make sure that he brings this person for that date, if the person agreed to that. And so he says, فصل والكفارة بالبدن جائزة عفوا إذا كان على المكفول به حق للآدمي. So if this person, he says kafala, which is like the domain. It's this person is going to make sure he shows up for this date. It's bil badan, which is with a person's body. It's permissible. إذا كان على المكفول به حق للآدمي. So if there is something that is owed, like a haqq, and the difference between a haqqun lil admi is such as if somebody did a qasf, they said this person is a zania or whatever, then this person deserves to be whooped. And this is a haqq for this person who is talked bad about. This is her haqq or his haqq to make sure that this person gets their punishment. And so if this person, if this is a haqq that is for adami, which is connected to that person, this is this person's right, he was the one who got slandered, so it's his right to do this, then in this case we can have a kifala for badan, as opposed to something that is a haqq lil adami and lillah. So there's certain things that are between this person and Allah, and such as like zina itself. Zina itself, this is something that's the had, or like the actual punishment for zina is something that's between this person and Allah. And this is if they take the had, then this is a kafara for their sin. But if they don't take the had and someone else, say someone else wants to bring them up and he does the kafara, no. Because the basis of like all of the hukuk lillah, the basis for all of these are an musamaha, like that it's on grace and like ease, and that Allah will forgive this person. This is the basis of all the things that we do with them. We always assume the best of these things. But when it comes to the adamiyin, like for humans, we always are the basis of asl mushaha, and that the person is always constantly, he needs to get his rights. So in this case, we can have the kafara, which normally is like getting someone to make sure that they come up on a certain day. This happens for this would happen for something that is a right for the humans, not a right for Allah. So as opposed to like zina, like the had for zina is something that's a right for Allah. So for him to show up, he can't have a kafara for this. But as opposed for someone who did qasf and so on, this is right for this person, or they killed somebody, then he's and in this case he can have kafara, which is making sure he comes up. So this is another type of it's close, it's usually highly related to domain, because it's that iltizam. It's making sure that this person, when he agrees with this other person that he's going to do this person knows where he's at, and he has to make sure this guy shows up for the date that's appointed. He has to make sure this guy shows up. So and there's no excuse for him. So if this person that is the kafil, or the person that's going out there to get the guy, if he says I don't know where he's at, in this case you would sometimes they would say take him into jail until he makes sure that he gets this guy to come. So it's definitely it's a serious ordeal, because this person is taking up a high responsibility, and he has to come through with it. All right. So this is kafala, and yeah, you have a question? Yeah, go ahead.
What would make somebody take on this role? Is it something that he's obliged to do, or is it something he does for like employment? What is like the reason somebody would take?
Maybe this person is his friend. Say this person did qisas, and this person wants to set his affairs right before he goes and has qisas done on him. So this person wants to run about and do his last things before he's gonna get qisas. So this person looks out for him and says, I'm going to make sure, before them just taking him and making sure he doesn't run around, this person says, I'm going to make sure he shows up. So it gives him leeway. But they have to agree to that. They have to agree. This is the guy who's going to make sure that you're coming, and he has to agree to that. This person is going to make sure that you do this. You get there. He's going to get you wherever you're at. Yeah.
But the punishment, like if he didn't show up, like let's say if he went missing completely, there would not be the same punishment that would be applied to this person. Would not be forced on this family.
And the person who is supposed to come with him.
Yeah, like let's say that. Person
No, he wouldn't.
missing.
He wouldn't get the
Oh,
had.
no, yeah.
He wouldn't get the had per se, but he would get yudayaq alayhi. Like this person would go through punishment, or whether he'd get put in jail, or other things would happen to him to make sure he brings this person through, or at least he shows that this person already died somewhere else. Like bring a piece of him to make sure this guy died. He can't make it.
Can somebody do this as like a profession in America? You know how we have like bounty hunters.
We got bounty hunters.
I wonder if this is.
But the problem, the difference between a bounty hunter and this is the bounty hunter. This person has no clue who he is, as opposed to this guy. He knows who he is, and it's with his permission.
It's with whose permission?
It's with the person who needs to be present. It's his permission.
Oh, okay.
All right. There's definitely some of these things are close to things that we know, but there's definitely major differences. Like a bounty hunter, this is close to it, but it's definitely different because the bounty hunter is without that person's consent whatsoever. So the next thing we're going to go into is what's called sharika, which is, of course, we all know sharika is like what we would say business. Like a business is called sharika. So the author here, he's going to talk about sharika, and of course, like sharika means like something that is mixed, ikhtilat. This is what sharika means, like something that's mixed with something else. And the basic concept of it, you get a bunch of people, they want to start up, say they want to start up a business, and so they all mix their funds together, and they start up this business, and they're business partners in this. The benefit for it is for them. Like they make a win, it's for them. They lose their money, and they lose their money. They're all in it together. There's no one that's according to the amount of money that they put in. Then you would say like how much percentage is for each person. So even like stocks is a kind of a way of sharika. Like this person that buys a stock, he's buying something. He's buying a part of the company. So he's providing a part of the company. So he owns it to a certain extent. And so this is what the sharika kind of comes into here. So he's going to talk about it. And so he says, "Fasl, rahimahullah, وَلِلشَّرِكَةِ خَمْسَةُ شَرَائِطَ." And so he says there's 5 conditions here for sharika. And the sharika, another important thing that there's certain things that we can do sharika with, and there's certain things we can't do sharika with. If we're going to do sharika with people's bodies, say we're all going to carry something, we're all going to go and say we're going to like doormen, like our bellmen, they all will carry luggage for somebody. And then we're going to say, we got 5 guys, we're all going to go in there and we're going to carry these people's luggage, and we're going to make a sharika, and the whatever we make from it is split between us, all right? Let's go. They didn't put any money in this. They're just bringing their bodies. No, we can't do this because there's a difference between everybody that carries. You're going to carry more than me. And so and there's going to be differences between us. So we say split that? No. It actually has to be with money that we put in. And so this is important with sharika, that the sharika actually happens with actual money that is put down into a payment, and it's not something that is a splitting of people's expertise. So like say someone wanted to have expertise that they were spreading, and they weren't actually putting any money into anything. They're just saying we have our expertise that's going to be split between us. No, you can't split expertise because we don't know how much this has as opposed to this. But with money, we know how much everyone gets. So the author here, he says, the first thing is, he says, which is close to this meaning. He says, أن تكون على ناد من الدراهم والدنانير. And so this needs to be on a certain nad is like, this is a madrub, which is like a certain type of currency. Like when they would have like gold and silver, it would be on a certain actual currency, such as dirahim or dinanir. So this is on the same type of currency. There's nothing different about it. It's the same, you would have different types. Maybe some of them are way a little more than other, but they all need to be on the same exact type that they put in together, and that needs to be on the same type of currency that they put in. And then he says also, وَأَنْ يَتَّفِقَا فِي الْجِنْسِ وَالنَّوْعِ, and that this is the same type of currency, which is like the jins, the same thing. Maybe this is not a currency. Maybe they're all coming together with something other than currency. But it's such as it's like someone has wheat, and they all come up, but it needs to be the exact same type. It needs to be the exact same type in the jins, which is like the general type, and then the naw', which is like a khas. It's like something that's even more specific. So it needs to be the same type of wheat. Or if it was money, then it would need to be the same type. And then when they say في الجنس والنوع, this goes back to the mukassira was sahih. So if someone had a bunch of denanir, and he was trying to pay this with someone else that had he has the ones that are broken, the old ones, and then the other one has the good ones, the new ones. This is different. They need to all be the same, so we know how much got mixed. All right. He says وأن يخلط المالين. So this is the third condition here. So the first condition is that it's from an actual type of currency that is all the same. The second condition is that this is the same type of currency. Whatever this currency is, that this is the same type of currency and it's all of its details. Because the goal of this is to mix. And then he says in the third thing, which is the third, that this mix. Both of these, like if it was two people, then it would mix between them. So where you can't see this is his money and this is my money. That's the point. Like that this ownership is something that's mixed between them. They don't say this was my money that I paid for this with. No, this is a mix between everybody. Whatever this money is, then this is between all of us. Like we're both in this together. And we're not pointing at individual money. Yeah. So then he also says, وَأَن يَأْذَنَ كُلُّ وَاحِدٍ مِّنْهُمَا لِصَاحِبِهِ فِي التَّصَرُّفِ. And this is also very important. This is the basic premise of sharika, is that each one of them gives permission, yet then, for the other person to work with the money. So like فِي التَّصَرُّفِ, that he gives both of them permission, or like every single person gives the other people permission to work with the money to do what they're planning to do, that they're going to do. So they give permission to someone to work on this money. And if they don't give permission, then this is problematic, because they need to give everyone permission to work with this so that it runs and it keeps going. And the next of these that he says is وَأَن يَكُونَ الرِّبْحُ وَالْخُسْرَانُ عَلَى قَدْرِ الْمَالَيْنِ. So, and this is very important as well. And so the ribh and the khusran. The ribh, which is like the gain, the profit, and the khusran, which is the loss. Alright? These are all according to how much the money was put in. So we can't say that one person get more of the profit than another person that's in the sharik. They're both in it together. Whatever they get, all of it is according to that. So also, so what if we put in a bunch of money and we got a ton of profit? So this ton of profit, I put in $400 and you put in $600. And so we made a bunch of profit. We're going to split that 40-60. Like that profit is 40-60 split, not a 50-50 split. I put in 40% and you put in 600. And you put in 60%. So the profit gets split according to how much the person put into it. And the same thing if there's loss. So we lost $100 in this. All right. Then I lost from my money. If we say okay, khalas, then I lost the amount that I put in as well as you lose the amount that you put in. And there's no differencing in that from that, or like not the amount, but the percentage. We're in this on this percentage where we lose and we win together. No one can be winning more than someone else, except with what more they put into it. It's all according to how much they put into it. Any questions over this so far?
So this sounds like it has to do with specifically like investing financially, right?
It's almost like investing, but this is the people are actually doing it. So you got like a bunch of business partners. Right. You got business partners that are, say they're in a store. They all get together, we're going to sell furniture. All right, so they all put together their money. And then you see how much did each person put in percentage-wise, and then they all work to make sure that this money gets something. So it's investment, yes, but they're also working.
What if it's a startup and it makes no profit?
Then everybody loses. Yeah. Yeah. And there's also another principle that's important for someone to know is that like if somebody is on a salary, even though they lost the money, he still gets paid. If he's on a salary, he gets paid for his time. You know, as opposed to sharika. Like if these people are just sharika and they're all doing it together, they all lose. As opposed to someone if they agree that this person's going to get a salary.
You know how you mentioned the example of like the hotel where there's multiple guys and they're working together, right?
Yeah.
Or let's say an example of like a moving company, right?
Yeah.
So is there, you said that's not in this context. What would that fall under, do you think?
It would be ijara. That they get paid for their work. And they would have to
split it evenly?
If they wanted to deal with that, yeah. They would split according to what they agree upon.
Okay.
But it would be according to the amount of work that they do. But it's not a sharika. So it's not like they have the rights of
When you
equal
say it's
thing.
according to the work they do, what do you mean?
This is like we'll talk about ijara, which is like someone giving out a service.
Okay.
And so according to that service, they get paid according to the service that they do.
Okay.
Yeah. And so maybe they all agree that we're gonna get paid this much. Like we're gonna get this much money from this thing. But it would fall under ijara and it wouldn't fall under sharika. That's the biggest key.
Okay.
All right.
Did we cover that in this book?
Yeah, ijara will come up after this. Yeah. The last thing we're gonna do here, which is connected, and we'll call it for tonight, is al-wikala. Al-wakala. And so the author here, he says fasl, and he's going to talk about a wikala or wakala, which is basically having someone do something on your behalf. You tell someone, do this for me. You tell someone, sell my car for me for $50,000, something. Yeah. So in this case, you're telling this person to do it, and you're giving him the ownership to go haggle with this person and do all these things, and he's going to sell your car for you. In this case, all right. And the same thing as if you tell someone to go buy something for me from the store. This is wakala. You give him the money, he goes to the store and he buys that thing for you. All right. This is the basic premise of wakala, and this makes things much easier for people, like to have someone do something on behalf of you. And this can be with money, or it can be without money. Maybe you can do it for a price, or you can do it without a price. Like maybe this person, since he's going to be doing something for you, he needs some payment in return because it's a lot of work for him to go to the store, run around, this time and whatnot. He wants money for it, okay. But he's going to be your wakil, which is what we would call the person who is entrusted with this thing that's going out and doing it for you. He's called a wakil. And then the person who sent him, he's the muwakkil. So he's the person who did the wakala and made this other person wakil. All right. This is the basic premise. He's going to talk about some of the things that are in regard to this. So he says, وَكُلُّ مَا جَازَ لِلْإِنسَانِ التَّصَرُّفُ فِيهِ بِنَفْسِهِ جَازَ لَهُ أَن يُوَكِّلَ فِيهِ. And this is the basic principle. Anything that is permissible for a person to do, like tasarruf, which is like whether it's buying and selling and transactions of that sort, anything that he's able to do by himself, he's allowed to let someone else do it for him. All right, this is a basic principle, and there is one thing, of course, like this is not ibadah, except ibadah for the most part. Like for acts of worship, you can't tell someone to go pray for me. Yeah. So it's the only ibadah that this would work in. There's a case for the person who is old, or say he's disabled and he has money to go make hajj, but he's disabled. It's going to be very hard for him to do it. He can send someone out to do it for him. This is the exception to the rule. But other than this, this needs to be done for the ibadat. This is called to be done by the person themselves, you know. But in general, like with other transactions and whatnot, other than ibadat, anything that the person can do, he's allowed to do for himself, he can send someone else to do it on his case. So say a person wants to, say a person has a daughter that he wants to get to marry her off to someone. He's not able to be there at that time. He sends this other person. He's like, go marry my daughter off to this guy, and marry off in this for me, okay? And this other person is his wakil, and he can go marry his daughter off on behalf of this person. It's as if this person married his daughter off because he sent someone on behalf of him. All right. And there's a couple things that, and there's a couple exceptions, but this is the general rule. That's what he gives here, and this general rule. أو يتوكل. And so it says, and so the same thing. And yatawakkal is, and you for him to become a wakil. So anything that he's able to do for himself, then he can become a wakil for this other person as well. And so this is also important. So like if you told your kid to go buy a car for you, your kid can't buy the car, so he can't be a wakil for you. So you'd have to find someone who could actually buy a car, you know, to do that. And so if he's not able to do that himself, then he can't do it for someone else. Such as like a woman. Can a woman marry off another woman as a wakil for a man? No. Because she's not able to marry off women by herself anyways. Like that's all the time. Or like an apt to do some of these things. There's certain things that can't be done because that person can't do it from themselves. And there's a couple things that are exceptions, such as for a woman to so if a man told her to go do talaq on this other person for me, she can do that. That's an exception. Yeah.
Can you repeat that?
So if a woman was told by a man to go to talaq for him. If he told her to go make divorce for him, then she can do that for him. There's exceptions to this, but this is the main principle. And a lot of these things that we'll talk about, he's painting with broad strokes, and there's going to be exceptions here and there. And then so you'll go into it in bigger books. But this is the basic principle, which is important. And then he says here, وَلِكُلِّ وَاحِدٍ مِّنْهُمَا فَسْخُهَا مَتَى شَاءَ. All right, so this is also another basic, a very important principle. For every single one of them, whether he's the muwakkil, which is the person that's sending the person on behalf of him, or the wakil, the person who's doing it for the other people, either one of them can do fasakh, which is like they can cancel the agreement. Any one of them, whenever they want, they can cancel the agreement. All right. So this person, I told him, go sell my car for $50,000 and whatnot. And so he goes out there and he's going out and he's trying to sell my car, and I call him up and say, no. And okay, that's my right to tell him no more. And so what if I don't get him on the phone, and he sells my car, and I wanted to stop him, but I couldn't stop him? And this is the one of the issues. But it would go back. It would be fasakh for this person. Like this would be canceled even if he didn't make it to the person, the other person that sold it on behalf of him or did a transaction on behalf of him. If he made the fasakh beforehand, before he did this, then it counts. If he did it afterwards, then it doesn't count. It went through.
Sorry,
What do you mean? Make it fasakh?
yeah.
So fasakh, which is canceling, nullified. So he says, I don't want you to do this, but he already did it. Okay, khalas, it's happened. But if he didn't do it yet, and he didn't hear about it yet, there's difference of opinion of it, but it wouldn't go through. Everyone would have to go back. If this person, this is the majority view, which is that this person, if he went out there and he didn't get, and he didn't make it, or he was going out to do this thing, and he tried to let him know. Of course, he should try to let him know. But if he can't let him know, maybe he doesn't have a phone, maybe he went out in the wilderness or whatever to go do something for him, and then he would let the qadi know around him when he said fasakh. He would let a qadi know that I canceled this.
Right.
And so if he did it, it would be canceled.
Right.
Yeah, it wouldn't go through. Of course, these days and age, it's easier for us to do this. But they'll talk about this in bigger books, what happens when someone does this. But any time that either one of them wishes to cancel the agreement, they can cancel the agreement. All right. And so if someone was going out to do this for this person, he says, no, I don't want to do it. And he doesn't have to even tell him. But of course, if it's going to cause great harm, then he should tell him. But he doesn't have to do it if he doesn't want to. All right, it's a free will agreement between them. Of course, there's details that can come from that, but this is the general principle. So he says, وَتَنْفَسِخُ بِمَوْتِ أَحَدِهِمَا. And so also this agreement would break up if one of them died. So of course, like if the person who was sent out to do something didn't get to do it yet, and then he died, okay, the agreement broke up. But what if the other person that sent him out to do something, he died before this person did it? It would stop there. Even before he does this, it would stop before that. All right? And so that agreement would go there. And the next thing he says, وَالْوَكِيلُ أَمِينٌ فِيمَا يَقْبِضُهُ وَفِيمَا يَصْرِفُهُ. So the wakil, which is, we know who the wakil is, right? This is the person who sent. All right, the person that sent, Amin, which means that he's trusted. He's trusted with this thing. He's put in a trustworthy position. First off, if the person decided to send this person, this is already showing that he trusts this person. This is a sign of trust from the behalf of the sender, that he trusts this person. That's why he sent him out there. If he didn't trust him, why would he send it out? So this person is Amin fima yaqbiduhu wa fima yasrifu. So he is trusted with what he gets and what he spends in this. So he would never do something outside of what he was told to do. وَلَا يَضْمَنُ إِلَّا بِالتَّفْرِيطِ. And so he's not held responsible or liable for any damages unless he did something like that was inappropriate, like whether or not, like if it was money and whatnot, that he got this person's car from him, and then he left the car open and the gas running, and it went inside the drugstore and someone stole the car. Okay, this person, that's tafrit from him, and he has to pay back the money for that. But if he had put it in the garage, he locked the garage, he had the key with him, and someone, just amazing theft, broke in there and stole his car before he got it back to the wakil, okay, there's nothing upon it. he is trusted with this thing, and so whenever there's something that goes wrong with this item, as long as he did what was upon him normally to do, and he wasn't careless, then in this case, then he's going to be off the hook. He's not held liable for these damages, and the same thing with the money that he spends on behalf of him. He spends it in a proper way, without tafrit, which tafrit is going overboard and doing something inappropriate, like something that normally would not be done. And he says, وَلَا يَجُوزُ أَن يَبِيعَ وَيَشْتَرِيَ إِلَّا بِثَلَاثَةِ شَرَائِطٍ. So he says it's not permissible for him to buy or sell except with three conditions. And he says بِثَمَنِ الْمِثْلِ. So he can't buy something at an extortionate price. So I tell this person, go buy me like, what do I say, milk or something, and this guy goes and pays like $20 for a gallon. Okay, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to pay that. I'm not held responsible for that. He needs to buy it with something normally would be, or whatever that price is. He needs to buy it at the normal price. And also, he says, بِثَمَنِ الْمِثْلِ, which is like the price that is normally for this thing. And ثَمَنِ الْمِثْلِ is the price that's normally known for this thing. وَنَقْدًا, that he doesn't buy it on, so if this person sells, he needs to sell it with actual cash. He can't tell you, I'm going to give you a payment plan, and he's selling it for somebody else. No, you're selling it for somebody else. You need to get it cash, because this person, if he wants to buy it a payment plan, he needs to tell you, you can sell it at this payment plan. But if he doesn't tell you that, then it has to be cash. You can't sell things at like that. This guy can pay you back later. No. If he's a wakil, he needs to get the money there. And also, he says, وَبِنَقْدِ الْبَلَدِ, and that also in the currency of the place. So he needs to sell. He's not going to be selling in some foreign currency. I'm not going to go say I'm here. I'm not going to go sell something for say like say a brother-in-law or whatever sends me to go sell something for him, and I take like currency from Kenya. Like of course maybe this has nothing to do with him. So like me, I need to buy it or I need to sell it with the regular currency of the place, like Janae. I'm here in Egypt. So this is what he has to say here. And the last, let's hear the last sentence that we'll go over. He said, وَلَا يَجُوزُ أَن يَبِيعَ مِن نَفْسِهِ وَلَا يُقِرُّ عَلَى مُوَكِّلِهِ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ. So it's also he's not allowed to buy, or he's not allowed to sell to himself. So يَبِيعَ مِن نَفْسِهِ, that he can't sell to himself, because he's المشغول لا يشغل. Like the person who is busy with a task, he doesn't go and like do. It's like he can't be put on another task as well. He can't be doing both ends of the same transaction. So he can't go and sell to himself. If someone says, "Oh, you want to sell it?" He would have to do something else. But yeah, but the thing is, that person who's making the transaction, he can't buy from himself, because this is like almost like a conflict of interest. But this is the major point here. And of course, because he's going to be suspected of cheating. Yeah, he's going to be suspected of cheating. Yeah. وَلَا يُكِرُّ عَلَى مُوَكِّلِهِ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ. This is the last thing he says. And إقرار, we'll talk about this. This is the next chapter, I believe. Yep. إقرار, which is someone confessing that about something. Whether they're confessing that they have a loan upon them for so much to someone, or they have this is or confessing that they broke something of someone else's, or confessing of a right that's upon them. So they can't do this iqrar for the person that they have a wakil for, unless he's given them permission to do this. So he can't say, "Oh yeah, my muwakkil, yeah, he broke your stuff." He can't do this as iqrar. It wouldn't be accepted from him. It has to be with the person's with his permission only. He can't do this out of his own self.
Could you explain that again?
And so he says, so say this person, he's the wakil. He's the wakil of someone who who accidentally broke someone's car windshield. All right.
The wakil broke.
No, the muwakkil. The muwakkil broke the person's car windshield. The wakil comes up and he tells them, "My muwakkil, he broke it," and he says he's the one who's responsible for this damage. On behalf of him, as like iqrar, like the muwakkil. If he wanted to say, "I did this," then he needs to do this. And so here he says he can't do this except with his permission. If he had his permission, then the view of Abi Shujaa is that if he had permission, he could do it. But like the actual strong position in the Shafi'i madhab, which Al-Khatib he mentions, is that it doesn't go through either way. You can never do iqrar for someone else. The person who does iqrar, he has to do it for himself. If he's gonna confess to something that he owes or something, it needs to be from himself. He can't do tawkid in this. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Any other questions?
Just to be clear,
Yeah.
he can testify against him, but he can't confess on his behalf.
He can testify shahada.
No.
He can do shahada, but he can't
confess
on behalf of him. That's the iqrar,
No.
as opposed to the shahada. Shahada is different. Yeah, we'll talk about that. This at the end of the book, actually, or close to it. And of course, like the biggest thing that we're trying to get now is just get the big pictures. But then you'll see there's a whole lot of overlap. Once you get into like the next couple levels, there'll be a whole lot of overlap, and you'll see in every single one of these chapters, there's a whole bunch of stuff about someone having a difference with the other person, and then who do we believe, like what the qadi should do, and who gives the yameen, which is like they swear this. Who's the person who swears and who's the person who denies? This comes in the next level. Yeah, but every single one of these chapters is a whole bunch of these things. But these are the big strokes that we're painting with now, and inshallah in the future we'll see this. But when we talk about who's Ameen, remember this. Ameen is very important because he's the one who's trusted. The basis that he's not going to do anything stupid. All right? And that he's trusted. All right. Any other questions?
With the topic of the wakil and things of that sort, if I'm selling or buying on someone's behalf, how about like commission-wise? Like is that allowed if you agree beforehand, hey, if you sell my car for me, I'll give you this amount of percentage? Things like
Yeah. Yeah, that's like it's a price. Like if someone wants commission for something that they sell, yeah, that's fine.
Would that be considered a job? Like, would it be considered an
Yeah.
employee, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be like employee. But the only problem with this is that it's not on an actual fixed amount. It's the only
Right.
yeah, that's the only problem with that. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. This definitely is one of the chapters that there's a ton of details that take a lot of memorization. But inshallah, the basic principles, these are the biggest things that we can get now.
I want to ask you something in regards to fiqh as like a whole.
Mm-hmm.
I realize a lot of this stuff pertains to like our day-to-day, obviously, our life. That's what this book is surrounded around, right? So like the average Muslim, though many people who pertain to like business, work, and many of these subjects, they're not well versed about this subject. So is it something that is mandatory for people to study, the average person? Because it feels like a lot of this has to do with like the average person.
Yeah. And this is the chapter of Biyur and like the different types of mu'amalat. This is obligatory on anybody who's doing it, to learn, because this is upon him to learn. And this is of the biggest problems is a lot of the people that are doing the most business haven't studied even the basics of this, and this creates a lot of issues. But they have to study this, and this is also of the things that a lot of the Sahaba were very, very, very keen on learning this, and also like the Tabi'in and a lot of the fuqaha of the past, they would be very, very keen on doing these, on learning the ahkam al-bay' wal-buyu', because this is the thing that we're constantly immersed in, going back and forth, and there should never be any dhulm going on back and forth. And some people ask for rights that's not their right, or doing things that are incorrect from the get-go. So this is obligatory on each individual that is going to be involved in this thing to study it to the extent that he understands what he's doing properly, or to ask and get a fatwa for anything he does that he doesn't know. And so of course, if anyone's a business person, they should have someone that is and they're not a faqih necessarily, they should have someone that they can ask a fatwa for. Any other questions? Inshallah, we'll call it for today. Inshallah, in the future, we'll break these up into 2 classes. Yeah.
فلذلك فادع واستقم كما أمرت ولا تتبع أهواءهم وقل آمنت بما أنزل الله من كتاب وأمرت لأعدل بينكم الله ربنا وربكم لنا أعمالنا ولكم أعمالكم لا حجة بيننا وبينكم الله يجمع بيننا وإليه المصير.